Thank you very much. You'll see the players, as we said, have left, and we've been joined by Chief Exec Steve Curwood. So the football questions are still more than valid. Still got the manager here. Obviously, any questions about the club, anything greater that's going on, and anything about the future, etc. Now is the time. On that, we'll start with somebody in the room, Norman Irish. He said to Mr. Pilley, in trying to sustain the future of the club, what strategies do you have in place to improve match attendances?
Thank you. Improving match attendances is a topic that we regularly discuss. It's part of our weekly management meeting, and we have numerous strategies in place to do all we can to get more people through the turnstiles. I'm sure everybody's aware we are the cheapest for the equivalent of a season ticket in League One, so I think we offer exceptional value for money. I think our facilities, we try and listen, we try and engage with our supporters and be aware as to what people want as part of their match day experience. It's really important to us that we can deliver that, whether that be here or in Jim's Bar. Got a bit of a makeover going on in Jim's Bar, and there's different things going on in the corporate. We're doing our food in-house. We've changed the beers, and we're constantly going to try and freshen things up. But engaging with local schools is hugely important. There's lots and lots of different groups that we do engage with. We've got former players society, which was at Poolfoot today. There was well over 40 people who played for the football club over the years. They're a big part of it. We've got the walking football. We've got all the kids who come and play at Poolfoot. We've got the juniors, and we need walking adverts as well. We need everybody in this room to, when they actually encounter their friends, their family, be it at work, be it at home, to tell people how enjoyable it is to come on to Highbury and to spread the word. So running a football club and trying to grow the gates is not something that's really down to any one individual or down to the board. I think it's as good as we can do it together. I think everyone can play their part and everyone can encourage more and more people to come along. But of course what also matters is winning football matches.
A good start there. Anybody want to put their hands up? We've got a couple more. There you go.
This is Joey. Who do you think will be our toughest opponent in football-wise?
Probably ourselves, hopefully, training pitch. No, there's some big clubs, obviously Sunderland, Ipswich, big powerful clubs historically. So yeah, look, it's one of them where it's a tough league to predict. I don't think anybody would have predicted Luton win the title last year, but they won it quite comfortably in the end. We've got to make sure that we're right in that picture. I don't particularly think teams will enjoy coming here. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes it is windy and they don't particularly like that. I think back to the Barton game at home last season. There's certainly a lot of Barton players who won't be relishing coming back to Highbury very, very quickly. And the key for us is just making sure we're there. I think it's a competitive league. I didn't really know an awful lot about how competitive it was. I mean, last year was ridiculous. Going into the last 5 or 6 games in the season, I think there was still 12, 13 teams that could be relegated. It was such a tight division. We've got to make sure that, first and foremost, we get to that 52-point mark as quickly as we can. Shuey Murdoch tells me about that on a daily basis before we get any ambition. Get your 52 points on the board, and then see where we are. For us, we'll be looking up the table. We've got to have that ambition because we've got a team capable of challenging. And hopefully we'll get the crowds in, because when the crowds have come in, think back to the Blackpool game last year, the place was rocking. and we were never in any doubt. Once we walked down, we seen that energy and that atmosphere. I was like, the boys will turn on, the boys will perform today, and Blackpool were really fortunate only to get beat 3-2 because I thought we were miles better than them, and obviously the ref helped them out last year by giving them a soft penalty.
Back to the cards, this one, excuse me, we've had quite a few questions actually about the documentary. Obviously a lot of you would have seen the trailer and you would have noticed cameras flying around in the club. This one's from Costa, down here at the front. To Steve Curwood, when will the documentary be released? Will there be another, and can you tell us a bit more about it?
The latest update is that we've seen a full episode. There's going to be 4 episodes, we think. We've seen the first episode. It's absolutely excellent. I think unlike a lot of the documentary series you're seeing out there at the moment, the Man City one, the Sunderland one, Juventus, there's been many others. One thing that I think ours is, which is very different to the others, is the access. This is right underneath the nose of the manager, who's allowed the camera crew right into the heart of it in the dressing room, which is unlike any of those out there. Boardroom scenes, there's player fights, there's all sorts, everything which goes on right underneath it is there, and unlike all these others which are all a bit glossy and a bit glitzy and all that, this is very much how football clubs are run and what actually goes on inside a football club. So I think we've got a great product. The difference to the other ones is a lot of these are about a season, and you'll see like the Man City one was all about them winning the league and game bit of information. It's not like that, it's about different topics, different themes, so it doesn't necessarily need to be sped up and go out September, October, November to reflect on last season. This is about storylines which go on inside a football club, so it shouldn't necessarily date. However, that in mind, we are keen to get some traction in the market commercially and brand exposure. So to cut a long story short, we are looking to hopefully get something out there into the marketplace ready for screening. I would hope certainly in Q4 of this year, whether it's September, December, I don't know. We're talking to various people who know this industry far better than I do, but I've learned an awful lot in 12 months about where this might end up. It could end up on a Netflix, it could end up terrestrially, but it's an exciting product, and those in the industry know this, have said it is different to those out there, and it does give a great representation of what goes on inside a football club, and it shows the town for great as well, about what the town is, the people. I'm sure one or two of you sat in front of me have also been interviewed by the documentary crew as well, so it's exciting, and it's been a bit of fun as well. It's probably worth asking Joe how he felt as well about having camera crews under his nose in his first season of management, which I think is a brave thing to allow when you've got so much else going on, learning, etc., and you've got 3 guys insisting, staying in a dressing room when he wants to call the players to task. So it might be just a couple of questions around that itself.
It's obviously something I could have done without. But in the course of it, I mean, the guys that came in were very, very switched on in terms of they kind of knew when and when not to annoy me. So the way they integrated themselves with the players, with the staff, with the coaches, everything at the club was absolutely seamless after a period of time. Such good lads, and I think the fact that there was a kind of a bit of doubt in my mind about firstly being a new job that I've walked straight into, and having a camera shoved up your nose for large parts of it didn't really make me think this is something I would necessarily want to do. But having done it, I think once you all see it, it's phenomenal. It's brilliant. It's better than anything that's ever been done by anybody else, trust me, because nobody would have given them the access to the inner sanctum of a football club, and I think it'll put Fleetwood, if it isn't already, on the kind of global football map, because everybody will refer back to this documentary and say, if you're going to do a football documentary, that is the way you have to do it. So again, this football club wants to be disruptive in the marketplace, don't we? And I think the documentary will make hopefully everybody in this room proud, although my grandmother will be really unhappy with me because I didn't realise when I'm in a dressing room, I have Tourette's. And I swear an awful lot more than I think I do. So yeah, apart from that, there'll be lots of bleeping when you hear me talking, but apart from that, you know, it's a great document of the history of us as a football club. It would have been nice to have a cup at the end of it, but hopefully they come back and we get one this season.
The final part of the question as well is we are working on them coming back and in a phased return, because they don't necessarily need to be there for every game. As I said, it's not a full league campaign documentary, so we're looking at maybe phasing their return at some stage this year and continuing the product as well, so you may see them back with us in the coming months.
Just one more on the documentary, then we'll leave it one for Andy. Andy, the journey of Fleetwood Town continues to grow and grow. A documentary that'll go all around the world, and your little old Fleetwood will go on a global stage. Must be another proud moment for you, really.
Yeah, it makes me enormously proud. I mean, first of all, I'd like to echo what Joey and what Steve have said. It's an incredible piece of work that everyone in this room will enormously enjoy. I think you'll watch it several times. It really is that good. It's very real. It's gritty. It's funny in parts, but it's certainly not fake. And what it is, it's something which is unique, because it's in those key areas whereby that any other football documentary has not been given access to, and there's conversations that other clubs will not be prepared to have to air to the wider world. So it's a real special thing that we are incredibly proud of, and I can't stress enough how much you're going to enjoy it. It makes me enormously proud because I know that it will send tongues wagging throughout not just this country but globally, if it is to be aired globally. And we spoke to Gary Neville at Salford about the impact that the Salford one had, and he said that literally people would come and visit who would not normally have ever dreamt of going to Salford City. So it really put Salford City on the map. And I suppose it goes back to the last question I got, really. What are we doing to get more people through the turnstiles? We're doing this, really. We've invested in a documentary, and we're going to showcase what a wonderful club we are.
Now, you've all escaped from asking questions for 5 minutes there. Any hands going up? No, back to the paper then. Artie, sat in the front as well. This is an interesting one. I'm not sure if it's two, but one of you will claim it. Would you sign Danny Rowe from AFC Finals?
Who is he? I don't watch non-league football.
Right. We have, of course, already had Danny Rowe a few years ago at this club. One from Eileen. We have a really generous chairman, and we really appreciate the gestures he makes. What would Andy like to see from the supporters in return?
Right, I think what I'd like to see the ground full. I'd like to see everyone backing the club. There's always going to be a bumpy ride throughout any season. There'll be bumps and scrapes along the way, and I think the secret of success is we've all got to stick together. We've all got to pull in the same direction, and when the going gets tough, the club will need its supporters. Joey will need the supporters, the players will need the supporters, so get behind the lads on the pitch, get behind the manager and everybody else, and we need to be in it together to be as successful as we possibly can be.
A question from Dave here. It's been inputted online. It's to Steve Curwood. It's about being elected recently to the EFL board. What does exactly that mean, and what does it entail for you?
Well, it just means a lot more work. But no, in all seriousness, I've been the alternate director for the EFL board, effectively EFL is run by a lot of executives in Preston and supported by a board of 3 Championship club representatives, 2 League One and 1 from League Two. So it's just another key learning stage for me. I think it all benefits the football club, understanding how the whole league runs, all the problems which are going on. Some of them are well publicised at the moment, and it's good to get a real understanding of how football clubs are run, the rules behind football, what's going well, what's not going well, changing dimension of broadcasting. There's so many things which go into this wonderful game, and it's a privilege for me to be able to represent League One in that, but not only League One. I think it's important for my learning, and it also, as I said, benefits this football club. The more you can learn, the more you know. So there's a lot to learn, a lot of meetings, a lot of telephone calls, but really interesting, quite exciting times for myself, as well as all what I can bring back to the table over here.
One from Paul, who's in the room somewhere. I assume this is to the manager. James Hill is a very promising young player. What are his prospects for first team football this season?
Yeah, James, I tasted a bit last year. Obviously made his debut in the Blackpool game over at Bloomfield Road, is it called? Yeah. I don't know what it's called now because they've changed owners and everything. You never know what they're doing with Footy Stadium names. So yeah, look, he acquitted himself quite well in that game. And he's somebody who's developing and we've been monitoring pretty much since we came into the football club. He is still young. He's probably going through what I think is a growth spurt at the minute, kind of finding his balance and his feet as he grows into his kind of manly form. But yeah, look, he's an exciting prospect, and I think along with Barry Bagley, along with Ryan Rydell, the young players now in our academies know there's a route map to the first team. You know, Steve was telling me a story about one of our scouts was out at the Milk Cup in Northern Ireland, and he says he's walking around with his Fleetwood t-shirt on or kit, and someone stops him in the street and starts talking to him about Barry Bagley. So great signs. I think everybody in football is usually aware of what everyone else is doing, and I think if you're a young player or an agent or a football club that are further up the pyramid from us, they know that we can develop talent here because we've given them all a pathway into the first team if they're good enough. And I must stress that they will only play in the first team if they're good enough and if they want it enough, because it's important for us as a football club to build the right culture, and we can't just be, no disrespect them, but a kind of Crew Alexander where you're just putting players in to hopefully sell them on to other clubs. We want to do that, but we want to do that while we're winning as well.
Questions inside the room? Last.
Yeah, just digressing a little bit from the football. This is for Andy. Jim's Bar, it's a fabulous venue, but I think we need to be more efficient at half time and get people served. What I'm saying is, there are other ways where you can have bottles and get fast service there, so we can be waiting 15-20 minutes sometimes. So are you going to address that and have a look at it?
Might be off Steve, is that? I'll get the up here, right?
There's one for no, in all seriousness, I think any sort of football stadiums you go to in the country, that 15-20 minutes half time, it is extremely difficult to get everyone served in the speed and efficiency that they want. That's say it can't be done yet. It can be improved. Bottle bars, I think we've tried bottle bars before. I don't know how successful essentially they were, but I think you seem to still find most people do want a pint rather than a bottle. There are certainly things we need to do, so we keep around there doing our best to get them pints out as quick as we possibly can. But I don't think it's a problem unique to Fleetwood, but we obviously need to keep our hand speed up where we possibly can. So make sure I never wander down at half time and see what's going on.
I'll combine two questions off Twitter, just so you know, people at home on Twitter are also sending their questions in. First one is from Tomo, asking where Craig Morgan is, and the second one is for Ben Natman, asking about Ross Wallace.
Craig Morgan is back on the grass last couple of days, so should, along with Carl Dempsey, join in, all being well, next week with the group, and obviously we need to get the minutes. Ross is training with us at the minute, trying to earn a contract, really. That's the reality. So there are discussions for us to have as a group, whether we do that. The problem for Ross really is a nice problem in terms of it's whether we think Barry Bagley can make an impact in the first team in the short term. We know he will do in the medium and long term, but is it better to aid his development as a 17-year-old and he's not, quite Arnold Schwarzenegger, Baz? He's on the slighter side, although he is growing. Is it better to keep his development kind of with the 23s, with that younger group, all the while dipping him in and out as we have done in the past? But he's had such a good pre-season, he's been so good in training that he's actually accelerated on, which may be at the cost of some of the more senior players, because he is a real emerging talent and somebody I think every one of us, along with a number of others, are excited about the future for them at our football club.
And more on the player situation, Ben asks about the signings of Matt Gilks and Peter Clark today. Obviously two older players, what they're thinking behind that?
Yeah, I don't really want to go into the philosophy of the way my kind of brain works, but I do believe there's always a nice balance that's needed in any team. We spoke earlier about the crew, and I know they do side on the younger team because it is a kind of production line for other clubs. That's not my remit here. We want to develop younger players, and I think more debuts were made under me last year than probably any other previous manager. It is something that we're keen to do, but on the flip side of that, I'll get sacked by the man on my right if we don't win football games and if we're not near the top end of the table, and rightly so. So we want to develop younger players, but we also want to win games of football, because if we get beat on a Saturday and I say, we're developing players, I'm pretty much sure that all of you in this room won't really give two hoots about that. You'll be saying you want to win, you want to turn up and watch winning football. So it's my job to get the balance of that, and I think last season we probably accelerated a lot of younger players into debuts and into first team experience because we couldn't get promoted. So I'm like, okay, well, we're not just going to waste the season, we're not just going to give some of the players who are going to leave in the summer and last hoorah, we're going to put some of our younger talent. And that means we play a derby with a 17-year-old making his debut. That means that Barry Bagley and Ryan Rydell come into the Walsall game, because we've got to give young players a chance. We've got to grow our own players here, otherwise the chairman's going to have to keep putting in his pocket. And I think the academy work that's being done, you've all seen Poolful Farm, the stuff that's going in the academy, hopefully moving the academy on in the near future. It is really, really positive signs for us as a football club. And as I say, I'm lucky that I come to the football club at a time where the academy has started to bear fruit, and that the players are good enough to get in and around our first team picture. It's now my job and the coaching staff's job to make sure we keep developing them, and that we get a lot of them becoming fixtures in our first team.
Just extending on to that, Andy, you obviously invested a lot of money in the academy in the first place, and I suppose last season seeing 8 players come through, that's exactly the reason why you did it.
That's very true, yeah. It's the whole objective is to create this conveyor belt of talent. We do believe that there are lots of talented footballers, not just on the Fylde coast but in the northwest, and we're fully aware that the big city clubs will stockpile players, but there is genuinely a pathway, there is a route to the first team at Fleetwood. I've heard it said, and I do believe it's true, that if a player wants to play for Manchester United, they've maybe got more chance by joining Fleetwood's academy than Manchester United's academy, because at least they'll get a chance of playing in the first team at Fleetwood. And if they prosper and they blossom and they do well, then who knows, they could be snapped up. So the academy is very important. It's expensive, it costs us money every year, but it's important for the long-term strategy, and the long-term strategy is we have to look to develop some stars of the future.
Any questions?
This is one for Andy. Have we got a stadium manager here, Andy? Do you think we can sort the floodlights out? Eh? They've been done? Oh, great.
That's how quickly we solve problems in this room. Any other problems?
Yeah, it's just one for the group in general, really. You've touched on the subject earlier on about promotion, getting to the playoffs, maybe the automatic promotion, championship football. Have you actually thought about it realistically and made any plans on how you would actually develop the club if you got promoted to the championship, and what would you have to do and how much? What would the financial implication be for it as well?
So we'll go to Steve first from the club side, and then we'll go to the manager from the football side.
Yeah, I'll try to pick up on a couple of aspects. Obviously, you're never going to turn it down going into the championship. I think we've been in the playoffs before in this league, and you always want that to happen. Sporting success is what we're all here for ultimately. I do think the club's probably more ready than we've ever been in so many areas. It does take an awful lot, and you can say we're a relatively small football club regards to maybe our attendances and the size of this town, but it really does take an awful lot to run this football club. A lot of people, certainly a lot of investment from the chap to my right, but we are very well positioned. There's a lot of structure to the business. Stadium, we've been speaking not just this week about what we might need to do. We have some drawings about how we grow the stadium. It's always about what do you spend your money on first. Is it on the away capacity, because that will be affected, and obviously we're losing money if we don't. So there are plans to develop the stadium. Were we to get promoted, at what point that might be, that needs some careful planning, but yes, those plans do exist. Infrastructure wise, I think we're extremely well prepared behind the scenes, both on the football side and the non-football side, to take ourselves forward on that side as well. And certainly the academy, as we've spoken about, the academy's blossoming. There's some real quality standards going on within that, and there's some real quality lads coming through. So I think, we're extremely well placed, and that's what we're all here for at the end of the day, and nothing will please me more than the promotion and digging deep into that championship. And we're not going to be, if we do find ourselves in there in the shorter period, we're not hopefully going to be a yo-yo club. We'd love to be able to sort of inch our way up that pyramid as well in that league and become a championship club, and why not? That's what our vision is. As for the football thing, I think I'll probably hand over to Joe on that, but I think the continuity of players, the succession planning we're doing around recruitment, young lads coming through, you wouldn't be looking for wholesale change, but I'll probably hand over to Joe about how his views are on a squad and what's required if a club does improve and get into the league.
I'm kind of like, let's worry about that when we get there. We've got a tough task on to get out of this division. It's going to be a competitive division this year. Do I think we can get to the championship and stay in the championship? Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And I think there's a jump beyond that. But that is a long way off, and the likes of Bournemouth and clubs that have had financial issues in the past and have had to gradually work their way up the divisions to get back or to get into the top flight have shown that without an enormous supporter base, Bournemouth probably when they were in League One, League Two at a time wouldn't have been too dissimilar to the attendances that Fleetwood are getting. It was a club that almost went to the wall, I think, a couple of times, and I think they've got to be the inspiration for clubs our size. My belief is if you build it, they will come. If Blackpool are in League One and we're in the Championship stroke pushing to try and get in the Premier League in the next decade, then of course the next generation of fans will rather support us the reality of it is Blackpool have been historically the big club in this area, so they will always have the lion's share of supporters. The job that we have is to convert all the people who want to see good football, who want to support a successful club, and we've got a big club on our doorstep in terms of they've got 100 years more history than us as a league club. Do I think we can achieve what we want to achieve? Yeah, but that is getting into the Championship. Do I think we can stay there? Yeah, of course we can. The off the field stuff is Steve's domain, and no doubt about it, they're ready. On the field, I'm very, very confident. I've played in the Championship and know the division well. There's some big clubs in there, but if we build a team that I think we will build in the near future, that we are already in the process of building, then we'll go in there and we won't take a backward step. It's what the owner and Steve have done, what you as a football club have done before we've got here. 15 years ago, 10 years ago, you're in the kind of non-league structure, and everybody told, probably Andy and yourselves at the time, you can't get into league. You can't get into league, and you proved them all wrong. You can't get into League One and stay there, and you've proved them all wrong. And there's a good chance we're going to get in the Champ and stay there, and again, prove everybody wrong. The brilliant thing for me would to be for us to get in the Premier League. I mean, someone's got to get there. Someone's got to get promoted every season. So why not us?
A question from Daniel to Joey. He says, how does winning as a manager compare to winning as a player?
Both brilliant. There's nothing better than winning. Even if when I play my kids at Connect 4, it's a great feeling. And there's also nothing worse than losing. So, look, the key is, I wasn't sure how it would feel, but it's miles better when you win as a manager. I didn't ever think I'd say that as a player. I never thought that you could beat the highs of playing. But as a player, you're kind of only responsible for your performance. So if you play well on a Saturday and you get beat, you kind of go, well, there's not really much I can do about it. You're all crap. And occasionally, that was my mindset. But on the flip side of it, sometimes you can win and you've played awful and you're disappointed in your performance, but the team's won, so you're happy for the team, but you're gutted the way you've played because you've been terrible. So as a player, it is slightly different. As a manager, you set the tone. So Monday morning, regardless of the result, I set the tone for the week. Because if I come in and I've got like a bear with a sore head, the whole building feels that. So after not a positive performance, I've got to come in and energise everybody, and I've got to be mindful of my energy will infect the whole football side of the building. And that is a different burden, because as a player you only have to take care of yourself. But the flip side of it, when a plan comes together, Scunthorpe game last year is probably my most enjoyable but least enjoyable game, because after about 50 minutes I'm kind of like, I've got nothing to moan at the lads about now. Tomorrow they've done everything we asked of, and obviously we won the game relatively at a canter. And the enjoyment of setting that plan in motion, seeing players develop, seeing players like Wes Burns go from a player who was a little bit short of confidence to a player who looks like he could be one of the best players in the division this season, is what the job's about. As a player, you never ever had that, because all you were bothered about was your performance or how you played. Whereas a manager, it's great to see multiple facets of it. So I win on a daily basis. Even when we get beat, sometimes I feel like I've won. Last season I'm like, we got beaten games, but I'm like, well, we've got 4 young kids playing in our first team. For me, that's a win. And you can't lift the trophy. There's only one team that's going to be the champions in the year, but you can win if your mindset's winning. We try and encourage that at the club. We've got a kind of Kaizen philosophy about getting better on a daily basis. And when I look back to the squad we had when we came in the building, and the culture we had in our training ground, and what we feel has grown in the football club, we've made enormous strides in a short period of time, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the country finding that out this season.
We are running out of questions now, paper questions, so everybody in the room, you're banned. Should we have a vote? Is she allowed to ask one? One more, Beryl, this is your last chance.
Yeah, you've just been talking about moving the club on. Is this going to have any impact? How can I say it? Nobody loves this club more than me. I don't care who they are. But
Throw a few quid in, you know.
but you're saying about moving the club on, and building the club. It's not going to lead us down the same path as the clubs that have just gone out of business, is it? I know it probably won't, but do you know what I mean?
Is Andy going to run out of money? I think that question is.
I think Will's question is probably more relevant then. Yeah, it's well, hopefully electricity won't go out of fashion. I don't see it in the near future. But I mean, the question's a good question because it's very important that clubs do live within their means, and it is very tightly regulated now with financial fair play. We have what's known as SCMP, which is the salary cap management protocol. Steve, is it? Yeah? Which basically means you can only spend what you have coming in. So you have to do a forecast, you have to do a projection, and that is backed up on your historical figures. So the amount of money that this football club generates is the pot of money that Joey has to spend. And I think that that is in the best interest of the integrity of the league. It's not in anybody's interest at all. It makes me really sad to see clubs with great history that are looking like they're going to go out of business. That's that's awful to see. Clubs that have been on the scene for over 100 years, and I hope they can sort their act out and that they can continue to grow. But no, we run the club sensibly. We try and get the best value for money we possibly can. We haven't spent a penny in transfer fees so far this season, but we've picked up some quality players. We really have, and I think if you're shrewd and if you identify who the best players are that are available on the free, Josh Morris was probably worth at least £500,000 a season ago before he got an injury. Paul Coots again, these are quality players. Borrowing Harry Suter, exceptional centre half who's no doubt going to move for many £1 million in the future. It's a case of getting value for money with the limited budget that we have, and Steve is a great negotiator. Joey will identify the players with the rest of the recruitment team, and then we pass the phone over to Steve to squeeze the opposing clubs. That's pretty much the way it works.
A lot of the money that the club have spent in recent years is on the academy and the training ground, and I suppose, without putting words in your mouth, those investments are ones that you hope will fund the club for many years to come, hopefully way past Andy Pilley, way past us all, really.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And the Pillfoot investment has been really pretty enormous for a club in League One, but we now have the facilities that allows us to generate, again, the stars of the future, to have the local homegrown talent that can come into the first team, that can earn us points, that eventually we can trade, and that will help repay the investment that's gone into Pillfoot and that's gone into the academy. And you've got to really know what you are, and you've got to know what your objective is. And our objective is, of course, to win as many games as we can, to accrue as many points as we possibly can. But equally, we're not the biggest city in the UK. We go toe to toe with cities of more than 1 million population regularly, and we often beat them. So we have to have a game plan. And our game plan is, we'll recruit as shrewd as we possibly can, but we will also generate our own players. So the investment in Pillfoot, the academy, as Will rightly says, is there to allow us to do that for the long term.
Now, since the questions are drying up, we'll take the last couple and then we'll call it a night. Just one that's coming on Facebook from Mitch Hadgraft. Joey Barton, what was the best ever moment in your football career?
You always would be your debut. So obviously my debut for Man City at the time, away at Bolton, and obviously your England debut. I was lucky enough to play against Spain, who then went on to win a World Cup and a European Championship at the next two major tournaments. So always making your debut as a player is probably the proudest moment, because up until that point you're never quite sure whether you're going to get the opportunity.
One from Stephen here. It's about the development squad. Just 1 second, I'll read it. What's the plans moving forward for the development squad? Can the fans have a list of fixtures to watch them going forward?
As you know, we've got a strong group of under 23s now. There's about 13, 14 in that group, and we're in a games programme this year in Central League, Lancashire Senior Cup, Central League Cup. So I think we need to well publicise their games down at Pilfoot. And as you've seen, and as Joey said, and I think everyone's spoken about today, one of the pleasing things that I've seen in pre-season myself is, having been in the club for 11 years now, wasn't just that first half performance against Burnley, which was probably, well, as I said, one of the best I've seen halves of football since I've been here, but it's also seen the proximity of those under 23s to the best players in the first team, and that the game isn't changing massively when they're coming on the pitch. So we've seen really that continual growth in the quality and the standards. That's not just the academy, it's down to recruitment, it's down to the coaches, it's down to Joe and his team really embracing the number of players we've got in the building. If they're good enough, they will be involved. We've got Barry Nicholson now, whose responsibility alongside being a first team coach is a player development coach, so he focuses on all the individual learning plans of these group of 14 to make sure that they get the right amount of access to first team training, that they get the right amount of game time, that the strength and conditioning's right, that they go on loan when they need to go on loan. So really working heavily in that area to make sure that the players get all they need to be able to step up and be really complementing the first team squad as well. So definitely we'll get you the fixtures out there, and we'd like to see more of you see some of these lads coming on, and hopefully we'll see, as we enjoyed this year, many more of them spending a few more minutes on the pitch during this next season as well. So it's a really exciting part, certainly, you know, just feeling that personally myself, it's a really exciting part of the football club, the quality of some of the boys coming through.
I'd just like to add as well, people won't be probably aware of this, but obviously, you know, everyone looks at kind of staff appointments, and obviously sat down with Stephen, the chairman, and we spoke about, we had an intern in from John Moores University, a guy called James, we call him J Carbs because all he talks about is carbohydrates, but I don't actually know his second name, I still just call him J Carbs, as the lads will attest to. And he found that last year when he was working with us, some of the younger players weren't eating enough calories, so your standard diet when you eat food was fine for the first team players because they were adults and they were fully developed, but he found with a lot of the younger players, which I didn't know about, that they were actually not eating enough calories and not eating enough of the right foods, and that was affecting the skeleton, so that could obviously impact, if you do that over a longer period, how tall you'd become, how strong your bone density would be, etc, etc. So stuff like that is also there for the players now, so not only are we getting, you know, a better calibre of player due to, you know, the academy being better and obviously kids getting pathways into the first team, but the infrastructure behind that will mean that any talent we do get, we are able to maximise their development, albeit from a coaching standpoint or from a physical development standpoint. So there's been huge strides made, and I think that's all aligned to, you know, the ethos of the club, which is to play a good brand of football, to play a winning brand of football, but also to develop some of our own talent that we'll all be proud of. You know, the same way you are probably with Jamie Vardy, it'd have been nice to have grown him in our academy, and have him be coming from, you know, the Fylde Coast or the Fleetwood area, and we get the opportunity to do that hopefully in the near future.
Very last chance to ask a question, and then we'll invite each of the panel just to... Has somebody got a hand up? Huh?
Following on from everything that's just been said over the last 10 minutes, there's quite a few of us who complained about the lack of knowledge of when the development squad have been playing, when the youth team have been playing. Everything's been published already on the internet and everything, so it's great. we look forward to going down to Curwood every time there's somebody playing. And Joey, don't ever be frightened about playing Barry Bagley or Shaden Morris or whoever. We will absolutely love seeing these lads playing for the first team, because we've seen their development right from year one. You know, there's some fantastic lads down there, and you know, if we have to lose a few games to see them come through, it'll be brilliant for this town.
So if all the questions are done, well, they're all coming in now. Just about to go on.
A question to you, Joey. What's your best memory being a manager with?
I usually all think it's the Blackpool game, which was great. I mean, obviously the chairman was buzzing with that. I think the whole place was bouncing to have the bragging rights in this part of the world, and for me to see so many happy faces, to have so many people come up and congratulate not only me but the players and the coaching staff, and just to have that real feel-good factor that we were, you know, the best side in this part of the world, you know, at that moment in time. And I think for us as a coaching group to see the people who've been a lot involved in the football club a lot longer than us, so proud about one specific result, it is kind of everything that you look for. Hopefully, you know, we do that next season on a regular basis, and obviously, you know, for us the aim hasn't got to be one team. For us the aim is to be as good as we can be in the division, and hopefully, you know, next season we're sitting here and I've got a lot clearer idea of, you know, a trophy being lifted or a promotion or some more memorable results to celebrate with you guys.
This is to Joey. Do you think any of our players could play in the Premier League?
Yeah, for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. There's a big distance between that now and the level we're at, but I'm convinced that we've got a couple of players who can definitely push on in the short term, and be coming behind that. I think, you know, guys that you've already seen, and the gentleman before touched on it. You know, there's some good young players in our academy, and if given the right opportunity at the right time in League One, we've seen, you know, the route maps there. You know, you look at Dele Alli, came through at MK Dons, got 150 odd games for them, and is now, you know, a superstar in the world. And I believe if young players are good enough, if they have the right constitution and they're given the right opportunity at the right time, they can make whatever they want of themselves in the world. We also have the benefit of having probably the best facilities. You know, so our players, you see the pitch out there, the quality of that, which allows us to play the football that we want to try and play, but also the training ground at Pool Foot is a real recruitment tool for us, because every player that comes there goes, wow, I didn't know this was this good, and it gives us an opportunity to get players to the club that we would think normally would be outside of our bounds. I mean, you know, Paul Coots being a prime example. Everybody thought he was going to go into the Championship, and we managed to convince him that this is the right place for him to be. And I think the players who've seen him play, the people who've seen him play so far, you know, not only him, but have seen, you know, the quality of players that we've got here. It's a lot easier this summer for me to recruit good players than it was last summer. And that's a testament to everything that's going on at the football club, that's off the field and obviously on the field. And I think if we can get the place rocking and we can get a real good feel-good factor, which is a massive, you know, responsibility for you guys as much as it is for us in the team. I think if you create that atmosphere, we might only be a small crowd, but I'm telling you, when we played Sunderland here last year, they had 40-odd thousand in their stadium, and when we played them here, our stadium was miles louder than theirs, you know, and I think the fans were a huge factor in sucking that ball into the goal late on in the game to get us a win. And if you can do that for 40 games next season, home and away, it'd be fantastic. We'll have a great season.
Yeah, good answer that, I guess.